Welcome to Reading Inspires by Reading is Fundamental. I'm your host, Dr. Erin Bailey. This podcast celebrates the power of books and the joy of reading. In each episode, we talk with educators, librarians, families, authors, and literacy champions to explore one big question: what does reading inspire for you? Through stories, research, and real-world experiences from classrooms, libraries, and homes, we explore what literacy looks like and why it matters. Whether you're nurturing young readers, shaping learning spaces, or simply love a good book, we're glad you're here. Be sure to subscribe to get the latest episode. Let's get inspired. Welcome. Today I am sitting down with Orion Jean, who is 15 years old. Orion, you are actually the first teenager to be on Reading Inspires podcast, so welcome.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm honored to be the first, hopefully not the last, but thank you.
And Orion's been a great friend of Reading is Fundamental for several years. You hosted one of our very first Rally to Read events, and we were introduced to you because you have a similar cause of spreading literacy. So for those listeners who may be meeting you for the first time, can you share a little bit about yourself, especially your journey that led you to becoming Time's 2021 Kid of the Year and the founder of Race to Kindness?
Absolutely, I would be happy to. It all started about 6 years ago now, which is crazy to say. Six? Yeah, no, six. My fourth grade teacher at the time emailed me letting me know that there was a kindness speech contest that she had just found out about, and that, anyone who wanted to was open to submit something, but there were only 24 hours left to submit an entry. And I'd never done anything speaking related or kindness speaking related, but I guess she saw something in me and, sent the email my way. And after some deliberation, I decided to go through with it, eventually just write something and send it in, not knowing what was going to happen. But I ended up winning the contest. And with the prize money I received and with what I was talking about in the speech, which was kindness, I knew that, especially in the midst of the pandemic, that it was something that was personally important to me and that I wanted to be able to do something to help spread kindness wherever I could. So with that, I started my own organization called the Race to Kindness. I've led several initiatives over the years: the Race to 500 Toys, 100,000 Meals, 500,000 Books, the latter of which I was able to partner with Reading is Fundamental to help get books out to the community. And throughout that process, I was eventually named Time Magazine's Kid of the Year, which was still a surreal experience to talk about to this day, but being picked out of hundreds, if not thousands, of submissions and people who were doing equally amazing things. I've gotten to know so many of them over the years, and they've all done great things for their community. But to be able to have that platform to be able to continue to speak about kindness is truly humbling, and I'm just grateful that I am able to continue my efforts even to this day with the race that I'm working on currently, which is the race to 1 million acts of kindness, where people can go to my website, racetokindness.com, log their kind acts, and see what other people have done, and really build a community around kindness, which is the goal, I think.
That's incredible. What an amazing story. And I know we have many, many teachers who are listeners to Reading Inspires podcast. And so I'm sure for them hearing that it was your fourth grade teacher, right? When you see something in a student, you never know what that is going to spark for them and where that's going to take them. And I will be sure to share in the show notes for everyone how you can get involved with Race to Kindness. But you do a lot of initiatives through Race to Kindness, right? You have done book drives, meal donations, service projects. Where did this idea first come from? And what have you learned about the power of kindness and how that brings communities together?
Yeah, no, great question. I think that it the spark, I would say, was, the kindness speech contest, having that opportunity, but it had been building for a long time. And I think, my parents from, I would say, a young age, but a younger age, had always, instilled in me that kindness is important. It's something that anyone can do, and you should share it whenever you can. And I think that the experience of the pandemic, it did a lot of things for a lot of people, but it was my first experience, pretty much being conscious of what was happening around me. And, I think unrest and just confusion and all of these things were building up. And the world always needs more kindness, but especially then it felt like the world needed a lot more kindness. But even being able to be in that kindness speech contest and seeing other kids who were talking about how anyone, no matter what their age was, could make a difference. that really inspired me. So I think that throughout this journey, I've realized that very lesson, which is that anyone, no matter what age, young or old, can be kind and can make a difference in their community. Just seeing how many different people from not just, my community, but the state, the country, and even the world. Like we've seen submissions in the Race to a Million from different countries, or, people in the Race to 100,000 Meals all coming together to pack meals or donate books or give out toys and all these things. It's amazing seeing how just a common goal of kindness can bring so many people together throughout, different demographics and backgrounds to all reach this one goal, yeah, which is to be kind and to make the world a better place. It's been truly inspiring, I think.
It sounds like such a simple yet meaningful goal. I mean, and you said it perfectly. The world needs more kindness. We always need more kindness. And so you're also an author, a two-time author. You have a picture book, Race to Kindness, which shows young readers that even small acts of kindness can make a big difference. What message do you hope that children who are reading this book take away, and how can families continue to have these conversations at home around kindness?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the message of Race to Kindness is it's in in the name itself. It's, anyone can race to kindness. I think that it was very important for me that we have uh well, I mean it's a kid's book, but showing that kids in the book can do all of these different things without necessarily having to start an organization of their own or wait until they're older. It's simple things like waving to a neighbor or, helping your friend with their chores or, just these small things in our everyday life that we don't even think about that can make such a big impact. We call it the kindness ripple effect within the family.
Mm.
It's just the one act that someone else experiences, and then their mood is changed, and then they want to do something kind for someone else, and then it just keeps growing and growing. That's the goal. We want the ripple effect to spread farther and faster than ever before. And that is really started by, when kids are young, because that is how you instill that mindset in them. I think when we get older as teens and as adults, we're kind of I hesitate to use the word beaten down, but just kind of changed by the world and, become more cynical. But I think that when you are 4 or 5, which is the age that people can be reading this book, and you're seeing that, kindness is a mentality, it's a mindset that anyone can have, then you really start to see the world through a lens of kindness. So I think that it starts with the parents, it starts at home, it starts with instilling in your kid in everyday interactions whenever they go to restaurants or to school or the store, and just intentionally being kind to the people around them. It's leading by example, because that's how kids learn. It's by seeing what the people around them do, and that's how they, for better or for worse, develop how they move throughout the world. So I think that that's where it all starts.
That's such a great message that, we learn to be kind through being shown kindness. It kind of goes back to that, golden rule of treat others the way that you want to be
Absolutely.
treated, right? So you said this perfectly too, which leads me to your next book, a kid's book about leadership. And if you are listening to this episode and you have not checked out a kid's book about, they have many. Definitely check them out. I can put a kid's book about in air quotes because it is a children's book, but it's not. I think these books are for everyone. They take very complex topics, and yours is a kid's book about leadership. So a complex topic like leadership, and really break it down, which I think is helpful for not just kids, but like I said, adults as well, especially if it's a topic that is complex, could be challenging for them to understand. And so in your book, a kid's book about leadership, it shows children that adults are not just leaders, like that it can be taken up by children as well. So, how do you define leadership in your book, and what advice would you give for young people who want to make a positive impact in their schools and communities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember writing the book when I was 10. So, I think from then my perspective on leadership has shifted a little, but even like the basic core tenets of, I think teamwork is a fundamental part of it. It's being able to rely on other people who have different strengths and, be able to uh, complement your not weaknesses but less strengths. So I think that that's very important too. But just really, it's the self-confidence in knowing that same thing with kindness. It's the same principle. No matter what age you are, anyone can be a leader, and it's in the everyday things. It's maybe in a group project, you take the lead, or so many different examples of how to be a leader at an early age because it's a very valuable skill, as any adult will tell you, to develop early on. Because, there are so many adults who are still trying to struggle to figure out how they can be a leader, at their jobs or in so many other situations. But I think that that's where the value of a kid's company about comes in because so many of their books you were saying is complex topics, but breaking them down to where even a kid can understand it, it can be useful for any age because sometimes we overcomplicate things in our brain so much that we kind of need to bring it back to that, kid idea of what leadership is. So I think that it's starting with the fundamentals. It's kindness, it's listening to other people, it's teamwork, it's, making sure that everyone in your team feels valued. Those are the things that I think, not just in leadership, but in life, that we should carry into our everyday. So I think that my goal is that with writing the book, anyone who reads it can be able to take that message away from it and know that they can be a leader, no matter how young or old, no matter what their environment is, no matter if they think they can or not. Because, even when I was writing it and I had been in the midst of my race to kindness journey, it had been kind of being thrown into the deep end. I had never done anything remotely close to leading a book drive or food drive, but it was through the help of other people who inspired me to, through their leadership, who inspired my own style of leadership. That is how I was able to continue to grow and improve, which I hope to still do today.
I appreciate that so much. It's something that I think about a lot too, because my daughter who's 5 does a program called Leader in Me, and it had me, overcomplicating it, thinking like, well, does everybody need to be the leader every time? And then I thought, I need to step back and redefine what I think about leader. So, for example, if you're in a kindergarten class, the leader doesn't always have to be the person who's leading the line. It can also be
Yeah,
the person who's lining up quietly and setting a good example for the rest of the class. Like that is leadership
yeah.
too. So I think it's like how we change our perspective about leadership.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It starts in the kindergarten classroom. Yeah, I think the we get to you made a good point actually. I think I kind of want to like mention that like we get stuck on being the line leader, when really it's about, setting the example for other people without necessarily having to be in the front. It's, quiet leadership is
Mhm.
just as important as well.
Yes, quiet leadership. That's right. And because sometimes when I first think of leader, I just think of like the boldest person, the loudest
Yeah, the loudest
person,
one
the
in the room,
first
yeah.
person. But like quiet leadership is a very powerful thing as well.
Absolutely. Leading by example. That's how you do
Yes.
it.
Yeah, and it goes back to why was kindness your mission? Clearly, you have been surrounded by kindness. The adults, the mentors in your life have been kind, and that's what led you to this mission of kindness.
Yeah.
So let's go to literacy. I mentioned that you've done work with reading is fundamental in the past. Reading and literacy, they've always been central to your work, including your efforts to get books into the hands of children who need them. Why do you believe that book access is so important, and how has reading shaped your own personal life?
Yes, I love reading. I love literacy. I don't know if it's a video podcast, but if you can't see, I
Yeah,
have a
it's huge.
pile of books right behind me in my, in my little office, and there are others just pretty much scattered around my room and the house because, from for pretty much as long as I can remember, reading has been incredibly important to me, and it has given me so many things. Yeah, I think vocabulary and analysis and all these things, but I think the most important thing for me is reading has helped me develop empathy in a way that, real life experiences have helped with, but there's nothing like being able to literally jump into the world of any person in any part of the world, in any reality, however many miles away, and be able to see them as a person first. I think that we are so reactionary as humans, that we don't always take the time to develop that sense. And I think that's what reading was able to do for me, among so many other things. It helped me open up my world to so many different possibilities that I had never thought of before, adventures, and even like career paths and things that I never knew I was interested in. Reading has so many benefits, but I think that unfortunately there are so many places in America and really all over the world that kids don't have access to books. And I know that that is a key part of Reading is Fundamental's mission. So when I started the race to 500,000 books, it was imperative that we were able to partner with organizations who aligned with that mission. And Reading is Fundamental was one of the first people that we thought of because that is the work you guys have been doing. So just making sure that we're able to get kids, we have book deserts. That's what they're called, where kids don't have books in the home and there aren't, libraries or bookstores are not close in the area, or if they are, they're too expensive. So it's making sure that they're more accessible because that's what it's about. It helps kids develop a myriad of skills that they wouldn't be able to otherwise. So I think that it's incredibly important. And I think with the Race to 500,000 books, being able to see the firsthand impact. I have Race to Kindness free book fairs every year in the community, and the community that I live in. So being able to see kids pick out a book that they love, seeing their eyes light up and, being like, oh, can I have another one? And it's like, yeah, you can take as many as you want. It's an amazing feeling and it never goes away. And that is why we continue to race. That's why I'm sure Reading is Fundamental continues to do what they do. And it is truly still important and will never stop being important, especially as long as there are kids who don't have access to books or don't have access to enough. Because I always say you can never have enough. You can always learn more, read more, because that is where you're building those fundamental skills that will help you in life. No pun, fundamental.
I love the pun. We try to squeeze it in there as often as we can.
I'm
No,
sure,
it's
yeah.
so true. And don't you love it when kids ask for more books? It's such a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I remember like the when we have, the book fairs at our school, and it's like I want to pick out all these books, but you didn't bring the money for, five
Hmm.
books, but just being able to go to a free book fair and,
Hmm.
having kids ask, it's like, can I take this one? It's like, you can take all of them if you want to, that's what it's all about. And just seeing that smile, I wish that every person who, every adult could see that smile because that is the smile that is brought on by the joy of literacy. So that's why it should be even more of a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times when they're taking more books, it's because they want to share them with their,
Mhm.
cousins, siblings, other friends, other people that they're close to. So it's always great to share a good book. Speaking of which, I'm sure our listeners would like to know, what are you reading right now?
Ooh, it's a good question. So I actually just finished the latest Hunger Games book, Sunrise
Oh,
on the Reaping, because I know the movie's coming out soon. So I'm gonna. It was a great book. It was very sad though. It was really sad. So I
hmm.
finished that about a week ago, and then I'm gonna have to find a new one. I've been trying to get back in more into my reading, thing since I think during the school year it's been kind of busy, with work and everything, but just definitely getting some time to reconnect with my first love, which is literacy. So there will be much more to come. I've heard about so many great series that I can't wait to get into. And, The Hunger Games has been one of my favorites for the past few years. So getting to read that again was great. But yeah, no, I'll be looking for more soon. So if anyone has any suggestions, let me know because I'm always looking for new series and new genres and everything to explore. So.
Good on you for reading the book before the movie came out,
I,
too.
I always I can't like, but now it's like when I see the movie, I'm like that was better in the book, or that didn't happen in the book. So we'll see.
You and my brother would get along. I call him the book police because and walking out of the movie, he'll tell you every single thing that they got wrong.
Yep, and I will. My parents will tell you. I'll be like, that didn't happen in the book. That was yeah. No.
Oh, that's great. So the slogan of the Race to Kindness is everybody wins. As you look ahead, what would you like the next generation of readers and leaders, we talked about leadership too, to understand about kindness, service, and the ability to create change in the world?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that especially now, everyone has a lot of questions about what they can do, how they can make a difference, if they can make a difference. And I'm here to tell you firsthand that it is possible. It is more than possible, I think. When I started out on this journey, I had no semblance of an idea of what this could have turned into. I was just thinking it was going to be a small thing. I didn't know how much impact I could make. But I very quickly realized that the people around me were incredibly willing to come together for this one thing. So I think that anyone can be kind, anyone can make a difference as long as you have the right people around you, the right people leading you along the way, racing with you. Because that's the thing, about a race. It's communal. It's not just one person. You have to pass the torch every now and again. And, I think that's very important because it's all about community, really. It's not just one person leading the charge. It's so many different people coming together to make a difference in their different sectors of, what they are passionate about. I think for me it was kindness, but I've seen so many people, for them it's, the environment or bullying or specific areas that they are super, passionate about and care about a lot. And I think that it's important to hone in on what that is for you, find the right people around you to motivate you, get you started, and then the possibilities are endless. The sky's the limit because I never imagined that I could help 10 people, let alone 100,000. So, never count yourself out, never discount the power that you have, and the impact that you can make on the world at any age.
Yes, thank you, Orion. I appreciate that so much. Especially like your recognition that it is a community, a group effort. Because we talked a lot about leadership today and how sometimes our tendency when we think about leaders is one person, the person in the front. And you may have been in the front at some points of it, right? You were on the front
Yeah.
cover of Time for Kid magazine.
Yeah. And
Um,
then other times I was in the middle of the line in the back, letting someone else lead the way. So it's
yeah.
it's you got to take turns basically.
Yeah, that recognition of the community and the people around you, I think, is so important. So speaking of which, I always end the podcast by asking, what does reading inspire for you? I also added a twist recently. You can ask you can answer, what does reading inspire for you? Or I also threw in, who inspired you to read? So choose your
Okay.
own
I
adventure.
think I can answer both. I'll start with who inspired me to read. I think it was my parents. It was, from an early age, just before bed or, in the morning, sitting me down to read. Good Night Moon, every night I think was one of my favorites, but just their constant encouragement of my love for reading, as you can see by this stack, that
Hmm.
would not be here if it wasn't for them. They have always been incredibly supportive of this part of my journey. And then what does reading inspire for me? I think it inspires the desire to have more people be able to read. If kids or adults, anyone can feel the same thing that I feel when I read, when I get a book and I'm turning the pages so fast, I can't wait to see what's on the next page. Like that is a feeling that I wish as many people as possible could have. So I think for me, reading inspires more reading. Reading begets reading begets reading. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that with this platform that I have, with this love for reading that I have and literacy, that I am able to inspire as many people as possible to have the resources, to get the resources that they need to be able to, enjoy reading as much as I do. I think that's what reading inspires for me. I hope that was a good answer.
It was beautiful. Thank you so much, Orion. You've certainly inspired me today. If you're
Thank
listening
you.
and you enjoyed this episode, please share it. This episode is all about spreading kindness. I know, Orion, you and your family are going to continue to spread kindness. So if this, brought you some joy, please share it with somebody else. Thank you for listening to Reading Inspires by Reading is Fundamental. I hope today's conversation sparked new ideas, meaningful connections, and a renewed love of reading. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a fellow literacy champion, and join us next time as we continue exploring what reading inspires.